Aztec, Inca, and Maya Empires, The Illustrated History of the Ancient Peoples of Mesoamerica and South America, by Martin J. Dougherty. Digitally narrated in the voice of Alice White. Published by Amber Books and produced by DeepZen. Introduction. The cradle of civilization is generally thought of as being the Fertile Crescent of ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, a region that gave rise to a number of civilizations over the centuries. These may have influenced one another during their early development, and in many cases, interacted. Sometimes these interactions were violent, and sometimes they were through trade and the exchange of ideas. Other civilizations grew up in the river valleys of India and China, and may or may not have had contact with one another. Exactly how to define civilization is a difficult question, but as a general rule, a candidate for the title will display certain hallmarks. Urbanization, social organization, agriculture, and art are generally considered to be indicators of a civilization, rather than what might be called a complex culture. Thus, some quite advanced societies are not described as civilizations, as they do not quite fit the standard definition. At first glance, it may seem that the factors defining a civilization are interdependent. The large-scale production of food required to support an urbanized population depends upon a degree of social organization, as does the capability to get the food to where it is needed and to store it until required. It might seem, therefore, that all civilizations would be very similar, and in many cases this is true. However, the early civilizations of the Americas challenge this assumption. The earliest known large-scale settlements, proto-cities, developed in the Middle East. Jericho, the oldest of them all, grew up as a series of settlements in the Neolithic, Late Stone Age, and Chalcolithic, the Short Copper Age, preceding the introduction of bronze working eras. Exactly when it became something that would be considered a city is open to debate, but by 7500 BC or so, other proto-cities existed in the Middle East, and the development of civilization could be said to be underway. The first society to fit the standard definition of a civilization appeared in Mesopotamia around 3500 BC, probably as the result of a steady trend towards urbanization and centralized power. Civilization is known to have existed along the Nile by 3100 BC and in the Indus Valley by 2600 BC. China had developed a civilization by 1600 BC. Some of these civilizations had contact with one another, and it is possible that ideas were carried by traders or wanderers, gradually spreading across the land, from the Middle East to China. There is little chance that the same happened across the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans, to the Americas of that era.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?